Disclaimer.
I died leading worship, and Jesus said I never knew him.
My name is Marcus Isaiah Thompson. I am 42 years old. I died for 11 minutes on October 15th, 2023 in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And what I saw changed the way I understand worship, Sunday mornings, and the presence of God forever. Before I begin, if God brought you here, subscribe and stay with me. The coffee was burning. I could smell it from upstairs. That bitter, acrid smell of a pot left too long on the burner. But I did not have time to deal with it. My watch read 7:17 a.m., and we were already behind schedule. Church started at 9 hour, sound check was at 8:15, and I still had to gather my worship binder, check the song arrangements, and make sure the kids were dressed appropriately. Sunday mornings in the Thompson household ran like a military operation. Or at least, they were supposed to. I heard my daughter Zoe arguing with her brother upstairs. Something about the bathroom. Something pointless. I felt my jaw tighten. Every single Sunday, the same chaos, the same lack of urgency, the same disrespect for the Lord's Day. I took the stairs, 2 at a time, my leather Bible tucked under one arm, car keys already in my hand. Zoe, Michael, we are leaving in 12 minutes. If you are not in that car, we are leaving without you. The words came out sharper than I intended, but they needed to understand. This was not just another Sunday. This was worship. This was our family's testimony before the congregation. This was important. I pushed open the master bedroom door. Jennifer was sitting on the edge of our bed, still in her robe, her Bible open on her lap. But she was not reading it. She was just staring at it. Her face looked tired, more than tired. Hollow. Jen, we need to go. She did not look up. I know. Then why are you still sitting there? Silence. The kind of silence that had become normal between us. The kind I had learned to fill with movement, with tasks, with the next thing on the list. I am tired, Marcus. We are all tired. That is not an excuse to be late for church. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. But that did not make sense. It was Sunday. Sunday was supposed to be joyful. Sunday was supposed to be the highlight of our week. I did not say I was not going. I said I am tired. I felt frustration rising in my chest. We did not have time for this. Not today. Not when I was leading worship. Not when the whole church was depending on me. Get dressed, please. We will talk later. I closed the door before she could respond. I did not have the emotional capacity to deal with whatever was happening with her. Not right now. There was too much to do. Too many people counting on me. I was a deacon, a worship leader. 17 years of faithful service. I could not let my personal, whatever this was, interfere with my responsibilities to God's house. The drive to church was tense. Jennifer sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. The kids were quiet in the back. Nobody was singing. Nobody was praying. We used to pray together on the way to church, back when the kids were little. Back when Jennifer still smiled on Sunday mornings. I could not remember when that stopped. I pulled into the church parking lot at 8:03. Early enough, I parked in my usual spot, 3rd row from the entrance, near the oak tree. I had been parking there for over a decade. Consistency mattered. Faithfulness mattered. The moment I stepped out of the car, something shifted. My shoulders relaxed. My smile activated. By the time I reached the church doors, I was greeting people, shaking hands, laughing at jokes I barely heard. This was who I was. This was Marcus, the worship leader. Marcus, the deacon. Marcus, the faithful servant. Inside the sanctuary, the transformation completed itself. I moved through the familiar rhythm, adjusted microphone stands, reviewed the song list with the sound technician, ran through vocal warm-ups in the back hallway. My hands knew what to do. My voice knew where to go. Everything was muscle memory now. Brother Timothy, one of the other deacons, clapped me on the shoulder. "You ready to take us into the presence this morning, brother?" I smiled. "Always ready, man. God is good." The words came out automatically, smooth, practiced, true. Or at least they used to be true. I could not remember the last time I actually felt the presence of God during worship. But feelings were not the point. Faithfulness was the point. Obedience was the point. Showing up every single Sunday for 20 years without fail. That was the point. I stepped onto the platform. The lights were warming up. The congregation was filing in. I saw Jennifer slip into her usual seat. Third row, left side, aisle seat. She was alone. The kids must have gone to their Sunday school classes. She was not looking at me. She was looking down at her hands, folding and unfolding the church bulletin. Sound check went perfectly. Every note crisp. Every transition is smooth. I had done this so many times. I could do it in my sleep. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe I had been doing it in my sleep. I pushed the thought away. Service was about to start. The worship set began exactly on time. The band came in strong. Drums, bass, keys, and I lifted the microphone, my voice filling the sanctuary like it had 1,000 times before. The congregation stood. Hands began to rise. Voices joined mine. Everything was going exactly as planned. We moved into the second song, then the third. I Surrender All. I had led this song hundreds of times. I knew every word, every chord change, every moment to lift my hand, every moment to close my eyes. But halfway through the second verse, something went wrong. My chest tightened. Not painful, just tight, like something was pressing against my ribs from the inside. I kept singing, kept leading, kept performing. But my breath was getting shorter. My vision blurred slightly at the edges. I looked out over the congregation. They were lost in worship. Eyes closed, hands raised, tears on some faces. They were encountering God, and I felt nothing. The realization hit me like cold water. I was leading hundreds of people into the presence of God, and I could not feel Him anymore. I could not remember the last time worship made me weep, the last time a song wrecked me, the last time I sang these words and actually meant them with my whole heart. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all. The words tasted like ash in my mouth. I glanced down at Jennifer. She was standing, but she was not singing. Tears were streaming down her face, but not the good kind, not the worship kind. These were the tears I had been seeing at home for months, years maybe. The tears I kept ignoring because I did not have time to deal with whatever was making her cry. My arm started tingling, left arm cold and numb. The instrumental bridge played. I turned my microphone off for a moment, just to breathe, just to think. The band kept playing. The congregation kept worshiping. Nobody noticed that their worship leader was falling apart on the platform. Memories crashed through me like waves. Jennifer begged me last month. Can we just stay home one Sunday? Just rest? Just be together? And I had looked at her like she had suggested we rob a bank. "We do not miss church, Jen. That is not who we are. My son Michael, 3 years ago, asked me during family devotions, 'Dad, do you love church more than you love us?' And I corrected him, rebuked him, told him that was a foolish question, that loving God meant prioritizing His house above everything else. My daughter Zoe, last week, closed her Bible during our morning prayer time and whispered, 'I do not think God even hears us anymore.' And I blamed her, blamed Jennifer, blamed their lack of spiritual discipline. Never once considered that maybe they were seeing something I refused to see. The microphone was back on. Time for the final chorus. I opened my mouth to sing, but the pain in my chest exploded. Sharp, violent, like someone had reached inside me and squeezed my heart with both hands. My knees buckled. The microphone fell from my hand and hit the platform with a sharp crack that echoed through the speakers. The music kept playing. The drums, the keys, the bass, all continuing without me as I collapsed forward. I heard screaming, gasping, footsteps rushing toward the platform, hands grabbing me, someone shouting my name. The floor was cold against my face. The overhead lights were too bright. I tried to breathe, but my lungs would not fill. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. My vision tunneled. The edges went dark first, then the center, until all I could see was Jennifer's face, breaking through the crowd of people surrounding me. Her mouth was open. She was screaming something. My name, maybe, or a prayer. I could not hear her anymore. Everything was fading. The music, the voices, the lights, all of it dissolving into a high-pitched ringing that filled my skull. And then, silence. I was floating, above my own body. Watching deacons perform CPR on the man lying on the platform floor. Watching my wife, frozen 3 feet away, her hand over her mouth, her whole body trembling. Watching the congregation scatter. Some rushing forward to help, others backing away in shock. I felt strangely calm, detached, like I was watching a movie instead of my own death. My heartbeat slowed. I could feel it, even though I was no longer in my body. Each beat was weaker than the last, slower, fainter. Thump, thump, thump. And then, nothing. Warmth surrounded me, but it was not the warmth of comfort. It was the warmth of exposure, like standing under stage lights that revealed every flaw, every crack, every hidden thing. The church dissolved. The voices faded, and I found myself somewhere else. The light around me was soft, but it did not feel like welcome. It felt like a spotlight I could not escape. The warmth faded into something cooler, softer, like stepping from summer heat into an air-conditioned room. I blinked, or thought I did, but I was not sure I had eyes anymore. Everything felt different, weightless, unanchored. I was standing, or floating. I could not tell the difference. The light around me was golden, warm but not bright, like late afternoon sun filtering through honey. And in front of me, maybe 20 feet away, stood a door. A church door. Tall, wooden, dark mahogany with brass handles polished to a mirror shine. The same doors I had walked through every Sunday for 20 years. The same doors I had held open for elderly saints. The same doors I had rushed through when I was late. The same doors that had become more familiar to me than the front door of my own home. I stepped toward it. My feet, if I still had feet, made no sound. There was no floor beneath me that I could see. just light, just warmth, just the strange sensation of moving forward without effort. I reached for the handle. It was cold, shockingly cold, like metal left outside in winter. I pulled. The door did not move. I pulled harder, panic rising in my chest, or whatever space panic occupied now. The door would not budge. I twisted the handle, pushed instead of pulled, threw my shoulder against the wood. Nothing. "Let me in." My voice sounded strange, thin, desperate. "Please, let me in. I belong here. I have been faithful. I have served. I have never missed a Sunday." The door remained closed, and then I heard it. My own voice, coming from behind me. I turned slowly, and my breath, if I still had breath, caught in my throat. Behind me stretched a hallway, long, endless. The walls were soft white, glowing faintly, and lining both sides of the hallway were pedestals, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, each one holding a single object. I took a step closer. The first pedestal held an offering plate, empty. The brass was tarnished, dull, like it had not been touched in years. But I recognized it. I had passed that exact plate down the rows every Sunday for over a decade. The second pedestal held a communion cup, crystal, delicate. But the wine inside had evaporated, leaving only a dark stain at the bottom. The third held a microphone, the same microphone I had held this morning, hours ago, a lifetime ago. The cord dangled off the pedestal, unplugged, leading nowhere. I walked further down the hallway. Each pedestal held something from my life. A worship binder with my handwriting on the cover, a deacon name tag, a Sunday bulletin with my name listed under worship leader, my leather Bible, the one I carried every week, sitting open to a page I had underlined years ago but could not remember reading recently. And then I saw the flowers, wilted roses on a marble pedestal. The petals were brown, curling inward, fragile as ash. I reached out to touch them, and they crumbled at the slightest pressure, falling like dust to the ground that was not ground. A card was tucked between the stems. I pulled it free with trembling fingers. The handwriting was Jennifer's. "To my husband, on our 10th anniversary, I pray we never stop pursuing God together." I remembered that day, vaguely. She had given me flowers at church after service, and I had been annoyed because I was trying to talk to the pastor about the new sound system. I had thanked her quickly, set the flowers on a pew, and forgotten about them until we got home. I do not even remember if I ever put them in water. My hands were shaking now. I kept walking. The next pedestal held a calendar. The pages were flipping on their own, wind from nowhere turning day after day after day. But only the Sundays were marked. Every single Sunday for 20 years was circled in red ink, bold, unmissable. The rest of the days were blank, empty, like they had not mattered, like they had not existed. Monday through Saturday, blank. Sunday, circled. Monday through Saturday, blank. Sunday, circled. Over and over and over. I felt something crack inside me. No, no, that is not. I lived those days. I worked. I provided. But even as I said it, I could not remember what I had done on those blank days, could not remember conversations with my kids that were not about getting ready for church, could not remember moments with Jennifer that were not interrupted by my phone, buzzing with church business. The calendar kept flipping, faster now. The Sundays blurred into a red smear. The blank days disappeared entirely. And then the pages stopped. October 15th, 2023. Today. The day was not circled. It was blacked out, completely. Like someone had taken a marker and scribbled over it until no light could get through. I backed away from the pedestal. The hallway stretched on. I did not want to keep walking. But my feet moved anyway, pulled forward by something I could not name. The next pedestal stopped me cold. A crystal bowl, clear, beautiful, filled with water. No, not water. Tears. I leaned closer. The liquid shimmered in the golden light, and at the bottom of the bowl, barely visible, was a small engraving. Jennifer's prayers for her husband. My throat closed. I stared into that bowl, at the tears my wife had cried in secret, at the prayers she had whispered when I was too busy to notice, and I felt something I had not felt in years. Shame. True, crushing, unbearable shame. How long had she been crying? How many nights had she wept while I slept soundly, convinced I was doing everything right? How many mornings had she prayed for me while I critiqued her spiritual temperature? I reached toward the bowl, but before my fingers touched the surface, the scene shifted. The hallway dissolved. And I was standing in my own bedroom. But I was not alone. Jennifer was there, kneeling beside our bed, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. This was a memory. I recognized the pajamas she was wearing, the way her hair fell across her face. This was 6 months ago, maybe longer, a Tuesday night. I had been at a deacon's meeting that ran late. I came home after midnight, and she was already asleep. Or so I thought. I watched myself walk into the bedroom, watched myself glance at her sleeping form, watched myself undress quietly and climb into bed without waking her. But she had not been asleep. Now I could see what I had missed. Jennifer was praying, crying, begging God to reach my heart. Please, God, please let him see. He is so busy serving you that he cannot see me anymore. He cannot see the kids. He cannot see that we are dying inside. Please, bring him back to us. Bring him back to you. The real you, not the performance. Her voice cracked. I do not know how much longer I can do this. I do not know how to reach him. He thinks I am backsliding, but I am just tired of being married to a man who loves his ministry more than he loves his family. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. The memory dissolved. Another one took its place. My son, Michael, 8 years old, sitting in his Sunday school class. The teacher asked the kids to draw a picture of their family worshiping God together. I watched Michael pick up a brown crayon and draw our house. Then he drew our family. Me, Jennifer, Zoe, and himself. But we were not together. He drew me standing in front of a church building, far away from the house, alone. He drew Jennifer and Zoe and himself inside the house, looking out the window. The teacher asked him, "Where is your daddy, Michael?" And my 8-year-old son said, "Daddy lives at church." The memory shattered. I was back in the hallway, but now there was something new ahead of me. A communion table, draped in white linen. But the bread was scattered, broken into crumbs, dry and stale. The wine had spilled, staining the white cloth dark red, like blood that would not wash out. And standing behind the table was a figure, tall, radiant, clothed in light so pure it should have blinded me. But instead, it made everything else clear. I knew who this was. I fell to my knees, not because I chose to, but because my legs would not hold me anymore. Jesus. He did not speak at first. He just looked at me. And his eyes held everything. Love, sorrow, disappointment, grief. I could not look away. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, gentle, but every word felt like it landed directly in the center of my chest. You sang about my presence, but you stopped seeking it. I opened my mouth to defend myself, to explain, to justify, but nothing came out. He stepped closer. You led others in worship, while your own heart grew cold. Tears burned down my face. Your wife wept, while you performed. I doubled over. The weight of those words crushed me. He knelt down, eye level with me now. His hand reached toward my face, and he caught one of my tears on his finger. Sunday was never meant to replace surrender, Marcus. His voice broke on my name, and I broke with it. I sobbed. Deep, guttural, ugly sobs that came from a place I did not know existed inside me. All the years of pretending, all the Sundays of going through motions, all the sermons I half listened to, all the worship songs I sang without meaning, all the times I chose my reputation over my family, all the moments I sacrificed intimacy with God on the altar of religious routine, it all came pouring out. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I did not know. I thought I was doing the right thing. You knew. His words stopped me cold. You knew, Marcus. You felt it. The emptiness, the disconnect, the slow death of your passion. You knew. But you were more afraid of what people would think if you stepped back than you were of losing me. He was right. God help me. He was right. I had known. For years, I had known. But admitting it would have meant admitting I was not the spiritual giant everyone thought I was. Admitting it would have meant stepping down from leadership. Admitting it would have meant being ordinary. And I could not bear that. So I kept performing, kept pretending, kept building a ministry on the outside, while my soul rotted on the inside. Jesus stood. Look, he gestured to something behind me. I turned. Golden threads, hundreds of them, thousands, shimmering in the light. Each one stretched back down the hallway, connecting to different pedestals, different moments, different years. These are the years I gave you, he said softly. Every Sunday, every sermon, every song, every opportunity to truly encounter me. I watched as the threads began to unravel, one by one, slowly at first, then faster. They frayed, snapped, fell away like cobwebs. You spent them, but you did not invest them. You built a routine, but you did not build a relationship. The threads were disappearing, and with each one that vanished, I felt the weight of what I had lost. The threads continued to fall away until there was almost nothing left. Just a few thin strands, barely visible, trembling in the light. Jesus walked to the communion table. He picked up a piece of the broken bread, held it in his palm, and looked at me. Do you know what this represents? I nodded. My voice was hoarse. Your body, broken for us. Yes, but do you know what it means? I hesitated. He continued. It means sacrifice, real sacrifice. Not the kind that looks good on a church schedule. Not the kind that earns applause from a congregation. The kind that costs you something. The kind that breaks you, changes you, transforms you. He set the bread back down. You taught others about sacrifice, Marcus. You preached it. You sang about it. But you never let it touch your own life. You sacrificed your family's peace for your reputation. You sacrificed intimacy with me for the appearance of faithfulness. You sacrificed truth for comfort. Each word was a knife, but I deserved every cut. Another figure appeared beside Jesus, smaller, softer, translucent, like morning mist. A child. I could not tell if it was a boy or a girl. The features were too gentle, too undefined, but the child was holding something. Light, cupped in tiny hands, glowing, pulsing, beautiful. I stared. Who? Jesus placed his hand on the child's shoulder. The baby Jennifer lost, 3 years ago. My heart stopped. The miscarriage. We had not talked about it. Not really. Jennifer had cried for weeks. I had prayed with her once, maybe twice. And then I had told her we needed to move forward. Trust God's plan. Stay strong for the other kids. And I had gone back to church, back to my schedule, back to my routine. I had never asked her how she was really doing, never sat with her in the grief, never let her see me grieve. The child stepped toward me. This, the child said, voice like wind chimes, is what you could have had. The light in the small hands grew brighter. A pause, a moment to stop, a reason to step back from everything and just be still, to sit with your wife in her pain, to question your priorities, to let your heart break, and let God rebuild it. The child's eyes, so full of knowing, met mine. But you did not. You rushed past the grief. You preached about trusting God while refusing to feel your own sorrow. You comforted others while ignoring your wife's devastation. I could not breathe. I was not a tragedy, Marcus. I was an invitation. An invitation to slow down, to be human, to let your family see you weak, broken, real. The light in the child's hands dimmed. But you chose the stage over the suffering, and Jennifer learned that her pain was not as important as your performance. The child faded, dissolved into the golden air, and I was left kneeling on nothing, staring at the space where Grace had just stood. Jesus knelt beside me again. Your wife needed a husband. Your children needed a father, not a minister, not a deacon, not a worship leader. They needed you, the real you, flawed, struggling, honest. His hand rested on my shoulder, but you gave them a performance. And performances always end, Marcus. The curtain always falls, and when it does, what is left? I looked up at him, tears streaming, snot running, dignity gone. Nothing. There is nothing left. He nodded slowly, sadly. You built your identity on what you did for me, instead of who you are in me. And now, you do not even know who you are without the title, without the platform, without the applause. He was right. Strip away the deacon role. Strip away the worship leader position. Strip away the reputation and the respect and the Sunday morning spotlight. Who was I? I did not know. I had not known for years. Maybe I had never known. The hallway shifted again. We were in my living room now, a memory I recognized immediately, family devotion time, 6 months ago, Wednesday evening. I watched myself sitting in my chair, Bible open, leading my family through a passage in James. My voice was authoritative, confident. I was teaching them, instructing them, correcting Zoe when she gave a wrong answer, cutting Michael off when he asked a question that would have derailed my point. Jennifer sat on the couch, silent, her Bible closed in her lap. I had not noticed that at the time, but I noticed it now. She was not engaged. She was enduring. And at the end of the devotion, I had prayed. A long, eloquent prayer. The kind that sounded good. The kind that covered all the bases. The kind that could have been delivered from a pulpit. And when I finished, I had closed my Bible and immediately checked my phone. church email. I had missed the way Jennifer's shoulders sagged, the way Zoe rolled her eyes, the way Michael quietly left the room without saying goodnight. I had missed everything. Because I was already thinking about Sunday, the memory faded. Jesus stood. He walked back to the communion table. He picked up the cup of wine, the one that had spilled and stained the white cloth. "This is my blood," he said quietly, "poured out for you, not for your performance, not for your ministry, for you, Marcus, the man, not the role." He held the cup toward me. "I did not die so you could build a reputation. I died so you could have a relationship. With me, with your family, with yourself." I stared at the cup. "But you turned my sacrifice into a schedule, my love into a checklist, my grace into a religious routine that made you feel safe, but left you empty." He poured the wine out. It splashed onto the white cloth, dark, red, spreading. "You have been bleeding your family dry, Marcus, taking from them, demanding from them, draining them, all while claiming you were serving me." I watched the wine soak into the fabric, watched the stain grow, watched the white disappear under the red, and I saw it. Finally. Clearly. I had been a vampire, feeding off my family's energy, their peace, their joy, sucking the life out of my home to fuel my ministry, taking their time, their patience, their love, and giving them nothing in return but criticism and spiritual expectations they could never meet. I had bled them dry and called it faithfulness. Jesus set the cup down. "What do you see, Marcus?" I looked around, at the hallway, at the pedestals, at the broken bread and spilled wine, at the golden threads still unraveling, at the empty offering plates and wilted flowers and calendar full of blank days. I see 20 years of waste, 20 years of missing the point, 20 years of choosing everything wrong." He nodded. "And what do you feel?" I pressed my hands against my chest, against the place where my heart used to beat. Regret, shame, grief, terror that I cannot fix this, that I ran out of time, that my voice broke, that I lost them, that I lost you, that I traded everything real for something hollow. Silence. Long, heavy, suffocating. And then Jesus spoke again, softer now, almost a whisper. "You did not lose me, Marcus. I have been here the whole time, waiting, calling, reaching, but you were too busy performing to notice." He stepped closer. "And your family, they are not lost, not yet, but they are wounded, deeply. And if you go back..." My head snapped up. "If I go back?" He held my gaze. "If you go back, everything must change. Not just on Sundays. Every day. Every moment. You must tear down the stage you built and learn what it means to be a man, a husband, a father, before you ever step behind a microphone again." Hope flickered in my chest. "You mean I can go back?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he gestured to the hallway behind me. One last pedestal had appeared. I walked toward it slowly. On top of the pedestal sat a wedding ring. Mine. Gold. Simple. Engraved on the inside with the date Jennifer and I were married. But the ring was covered in dust. Tarnished. Dull. Like it had been forgotten. Neglected. I picked it up with trembling hands, and the moment my fingers touched the metal, a voice filled the space. Jennifer's voice. Soft. Broken. Recent. "God, if you take him, please let him know that I loved him, even when he could not see it, even when he pushed me away. Even when church mattered more than I did, I loved him." I still love him, but I do not know how to reach him any more." Her voice dissolved into quiet weeping. I fell to my knees. The ring slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the pedestal. And I understood. This was not just about Sunday mornings. This was about covenant. This was about the vow I made to Jennifer 22 years ago, and the way I had slowly, systematically broken that vow by placing everything else above her, above us. I had been unfaithful, not with another woman, but with another lover. Ministry, reputation, performance. I had committed spiritual adultery, and my wife had suffered in silence while I paraded my faithfulness in front of a congregation that had no idea who I really was. Jesus knelt beside me one more time. "Do you want to go back?" I nodded. Desperately. "Yes, please. Yes." "Then you must die." I looked up at him, confused. I already died." He shook his head gently. "Your body died. But the man you were, the Marcus who performed instead of worshipped, the Marcus who built a reputation instead of a relationship, he must die too." He placed his hand over my heart. "If you go back, you cannot go back as him. You must go back as someone new, broken, humble, willing to lose everything you built, so you can find what you lost." I felt heat spreading from his hand, through my chest, down my arms, into my legs. It burned, but not with pain, with purification. "Will you let him die, Marcus?" I closed my eyes, and I thought about Jennifer, about Michael, about Zoe. About 20 years of Sundays, that meant nothing because I had sacrificed everything that mattered on the altar of everything that did not. Yes, the word came out as a whisper, but it echoed like thunder. Yes, let him die. The light around me exploded, blinding, consuming, and somewhere far away, I heard a voice shouting, "We have a pulse! He is back!" The pain hit me like a freight train. My chest exploded, fire ripping through muscle and bone. My lungs seized. Empty, desperate, I gasped, and nothing came. My body convulsed, arching off something hard beneath me, cold, metal maybe, a gurney. Voices surrounded me, shouting, overlapping, frantic. "He is back! BP is climbing! Get the oxygen! Marcus! Marcus, can you hear me?" Hands pressing on my chest, straps tightening around my arms. The sharp smell of antiseptic burning my nostrils. Fluorescent lights so bright they felt like knives stabbing through my eyelids. I tried to open my eyes. Everything was blurred. White ceiling tiles, faces hovering, someone shining a penlight directly into my pupils. Pupils responsive. He is coming back. I sucked in air, finally. A ragged, violent inhale that felt like swallowing glass. My throat was raw. My ribs screamed with every breath. But I was breathing. I was alive. Jennifer. Her face appeared above me, tears streaking through her makeup, eyes red and swollen, her hand gripping mine so tight I felt her nails digging into my palm. "Marcus? Oh, God! Marcus?" Her voice shattered. I tried to speak. My mouth opened, but only a croak came out. Dry, weak, pathetic. "Do not try to talk," a paramedic said somewhere to my left. "Just breathe, in and out, nice and slow." But I needed to speak. I needed to tell her. Needed to say everything I had seen, everything I had learned, everything I had been too blind to see for 20 years. I squeezed her hand. She leaned closer, her tears falling onto my face. "I am here," she whispered. "I am right here. I am sorry." The words came out broken, barely audible, but she heard them. Her face crumpled. She pressed her forehead against mine, her whole body shaking with sobs. Do not apologize. Just stay. Please, just stay. The paramedics were moving around us, checking monitors, adjusting IVs. Someone said something about the hospital, prepping for transport. But it all felt distant, unimportant. All I could see was Jennifer. All I could feel was the weight of what I had almost lost. The ambulance ride was a blur, sirens wailing, the vehicle rocking as it sped through intersections. Jennifer sitting beside me, holding my hand, not letting go. I drifted in and out, not sleep, not unconsciousness, something in between. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw it again. The hallway, the pedestals, the wilted flowers, the bowl of tears, the child holding light, Jesus kneeling beside me. You must die. I had died, and I had been given a chance to come back, but not as the same man. At the hospital, they ran tests, EKG, blood work, chest x-rays. A cardiologist came in, young guy, maybe 40, and explained that I had suffered a massive heart attack, acute myocardial infarction, caused by stress, high blood pressure. Years of ignoring warning signs my body had been screaming. You are lucky to be alive, he said, scribbling notes on his clipboard. Most people do not survive 11 minutes without a pulse. 11 minutes. I had been dead for 11 minutes. And in those 11 minutes, I had seen more truth than I had seen in 20 years of Sundays. They kept me overnight. Observation, medication, instructions to rest. But I could not rest. My mind would not stop. Jennifer stayed with me, slept in the chair beside my bed, woke up every time a nurse came in, every time a monitor beeped, every time I shifted or coughed or breathed too loud. At 3 a.m, I finally spoke. Jen. She sat up immediately, reached for my hand. What is wrong? Do you need something? Should I call the nurse? No, I need to talk to you. She waited. I took a shaky breath. I saw him. Her brow furrowed. Who? Jesus. When I was gone. I saw him. Silence. She did not pull away, did not dismiss it, just listened. And he showed me. Everything. Everything I have been doing wrong. Everything I missed. Everything My voice broke. Everything I did to you. To the kids. In the name of serving God. Jennifer's eyes filled with fresh tears. I have been a terrible husband, I whispered. I chose church over you. I chose my reputation over our family. I made you feel invisible. And I am so sorry. She covered her mouth with her free hand, shoulders shaking. I do not know if you can forgive me, I continued. I do not know if I deserve it. But if you give me a chance, I will spend the rest of my life proving that you matter more than any stage, any title, any... Stop. Her voice was firm. She leaned forward, looked me directly in the eyes. I forgive you. 3 words. But they hit me like a tidal wave. I have been waiting for you to see it, she said softly. For years, I have been praying for you to wake up. And now, you are awake. She kissed my forehead. We will figure this out. Together. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I believed her. They released me 2 days later with a list of medications, a referral to a cardiologist, and strict orders to avoid stress. I almost laughed at that last part. My entire life has been stressful, self-imposed, self-inflicted, wrapped in spiritual language and called faithfulness. The drive home was quiet. Jennifer drove. I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window at a city I had lived in for decades, but barely noticed. Everything looked different now. Sharper. More real. When we pulled into the driveway, I saw Michael and Zoe standing on the front porch, waiting. The moment I stepped out of the car, they ran to me, both of them, arms around me, faces buried in my chest, crying. I held them, really held them, not the quick, distracted hugs I usually gave before rushing off to the next thing. I held them until they stopped shaking, until their breathing slowed, until they knew I was really there. "I love you," I whispered into Michael's hair. "I love you so much, and I am sorry I have not shown you that." He nodded against my shoulder. Zoe pulled back, looked up at me with red eyes. "Are you going to be okay, Daddy?" I nodded. "I am going to be better than okay. I promise." Inside the house, I did something I had not done in years. I sat down, no agenda, no schedule, no phone in my hand. I just sat on the couch with my family around me. And we talked, really talked, about everything. The miscarriage, the loneliness Jennifer had felt, the pressure the kids had felt to be perfect preachers' kids, the Sunday morning fights, the missed moments, the silence that had grown between us. It was painful, brutal even, but it was real. And real was what we needed. Over the next few weeks, I made decisions that shocked everyone who knew me. I resigned from the worship team. Not temporarily. Permanently. I stepped down as a deacon. I stopped attending every single church event and started staying home on Wednesday nights to have dinner with my family. I deleted half the numbers in my phone. Church members who only called when they needed something. People who saw me as a resource, not a person. I started seeing a counselor, a Christian therapist who helped me unpack 20 years of performance-based identity and taught me what it actually meant to rest in God's love instead of earn it. Jennifer and I started going to a small group Bible study. Not one I led. One where I could sit and listen and learn and be ordinary. And slowly, painfully slowly, things began to change. I learned to pray without an audience, to worship without a microphone, to read my Bible without preparing a sermon. I learned to sit with my wife on the couch and just be. No agenda, no fixing, just presence. I learned to play video games with Michael, to listen to Zoe talk about her day without interrupting with a spiritual lesson. I learned that my value was not in what I did for God, but in who I was as His son. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. Letting go of the identity I had built, the reputation I had cultivated, the respect I had earned. But it was also the most freeing. 6 months after I died, I shared my testimony publicly for the first time. Not from a stage, not in a church service, but in that small group Bible study. 10 people sitting in someone's living room. I told them everything. The heart attack, the hallway, the pedestals, the tears in the bowl, the child holding the light, Jesus kneeling beside me, and the message He had given me. Sunday was never meant to replace surrender. When I finished, the room was silent, and then a man named David, quiet guy, never spoke much, cleared his throat. "I needed to hear that," he said. His voice was thick. "I have been doing the exact same thing, showing up every week, checking the boxes, but I cannot remember the last time I actually felt close to God." A woman named Sarah nodded. "My husband and I fight every Sunday morning, about being late, about the kids not being ready. I thought it was just normal." "It is not normal," I said quietly. "It is a warning sign that we have made church attendance more important than the relationships God gave us to steward." Over the following weeks, People started reaching out. Emails, text messages, phone calls. A worship leader from another church who admitted he felt exactly the way I had felt. Empty, performing, trapped. A pastor who confessed he had been running on fumes for years, terrified to admit he needed help. A mother who said she had been dragging her kids to church out of obligation, not love, and they were starting to resent God because of it. I realized I was not alone. There were thousands, maybe millions, of Christians trapped in the same cycle, confusing activity with intimacy, routine with relationship, performance with passion, and God was calling us back. Not back to more services, more programs, more busyness, back to Him, the real Him. I started writing, sharing my story online, not as a ministry, not as a platform, just as a testimony. And the responses flooded in. People thanking me for giving them permission to step back, to rest, to say no to church obligations without feeling guilty. People sharing their own stories of burnout, of spiritual exhaustion, of realizing they had been performing for years. One message wrecked me. A man wrote, "I almost lost my wife because of the same thing you went through. Thank you for showing me it is not too late to change." I thought about scripture I had read 1,000 times but never truly understood. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Rest, not more activity. Rest." And in Mark 2:27, he said, "The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath." Church was made for us, to draw us closer to God, to build us up, to send us out into the world as His hands and feet. But somewhere along the way, we flipped it. We made ourselves for the church, slaves to the schedule, prisoners of expectation, and we called it faithfulness. I wish I could say everything was perfect now, that my marriage was healed overnight, that my kids immediately trusted me again, that I never struggled with the urge to slip back into old patterns. But that would be a lie. Healing is slow. Trust is rebuilt brick by brick. And some days, I still catch myself reaching for my phone to check church emails. Still feel the pull to say yes when I should say no. But I am learning. Learning that my worth is not tied to my productivity. Learning that God loves me on Monday just as much as He loves me on Sunday. Learning that my family does not need a perfect spiritual leader. They need a present husband and father. And learning that the most powerful testimony I can give is not from a stage, but from a life that finally matches the words I sing. If you are reading this, if you are trapped in the same cycle I was trapped in, if you are exhausted from performing and pretending and pushing through, please, stop. Just stop. God is not asking you to do more. He is asking you to be still. To come to Him, not as a worship leader, not as a deacon, not as a volunteer or a committee member or a faithful attender, just as you, broken, tired, empty, and let Him fill you. Because Sunday morning routines without daily surrender will never satisfy your soul. And a life built on performance will always collapse under its own weight. I know, because I died trying to hold it all together, and I came back to tell you, there is a better way. His name is Jesus. And He is not interested in your schedule. He is interested in your heart.